Okay, we're going to pick up right where we left off. We're still here in the wallet prototype, in the new wallet function that we've created. And when the user clicks the create wallet button, what we're going to do is we're going to rip the pin off of the input form for the pin. We're going to check its length. Actually, let me uncomment this. We're going to check its length, and then we're going to forward that on. If it's not a length equal to 6, we're going to forward that on to the API object, which you can see here in the wallet. What I've done is I passed the API via the constructor of the wallet so that we can get access to this API object. If you look here in app.js, the API object is the same API object that we used to check if an account was logged in by checking the browser cache, right? So all I've done is I've just passed that into the wallet so that we can access different functionality with that API object. Currently, all we've done is I've added this notify method, which we'll see in a second, but we're going to keep dumping a lot of functionality into the API object because we're going to be wanting to use that throughout the web app. So in this case, I've created a notify object. You can see it right here. Commented out. Let me uncomment it. And all it does is it takes a type and a text, and in this case it uses the Noti library. You can go look that up if you're interested. All that is a notification library that sends notifications to the browser. In this case, we gave it the type error back in the wallet and the text. We'll talk about that in a second. But this Noti library, basically all you do is supply what type of error message, or what type of, notification / message it is. In this case it's an error, and then the text message. And then when you call .show on it, that'll make it show up in the browser, right? So we've added this functionality in the API object. Once again, I said we're going to pass around this API object throughout the web app. So anything you can think that we're going to want to reuse throughout the web app, in this case notify, is an obvious candidate, right? We're going to keep it in this notify object, essentially. So you can see here I'm passing error, and then this IL8N. All of this is just a locale thing so that you don't have to keep rewriting your error messages in different languages. In this case, we have a set of Chinese characters. In this case, you're calling like wallet errors pin, right? If we go back to that, you can see wallet errors pin. We're indexing into this JSON object, and we're getting this error right here, right? And we're going to print that out to the console if they happen to be a Chinese user. If they happen to be an English user, we're going to go into wallet errors pin, and we're going to show pin incorrect, right? That's all that is. So really, you can just think of, anytime you see this IL8 stuff in the code, you can just think of it as like an error message that's going to be showing up in that locale directory, which you can feel free to look at yourself. So anyway, getting back to the original reason I brought this up is we're going to check the pin length that the user submitted in the browser, and if it's not the correct length, we're going to spit out an error message and then return, and we're not going to do anything. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to generate a public-private key pair for this user. So since there's a bit going on here, right, because I'm passing in this API object. Let me uncomment this. Since I'm passing in this API object and I added that notify method, I wanted to keep this video relatively short, but in the next video we're going to use this public-private key pair to actually create an object. For now, all I'm going to do is spit this public-private key pair out after we've generated it. So all we're doing here is we're creating an RSA key pair using of bits 1024. We're marking the private object of that key pair as obviously true because it's a private key pair. Then we're just generating the PEMs for both the public and private key pair. You'll see why we do that later in the next video. As part of the API object that we created, we added this notify thing. We're also going to add like a create user in just a second. For now, let's just test this out before we get too crazy here. Let's make sure I've uncommented everything that needs uncommented, and then if we open up the Mixin wallet, so you can see here everything's working, user's not logged in, right, as we expect. If we click create wallet, we get pin incorrect, right, because that was the error message we supplied, and because we didn't type in a pin of length 6. So if we try 3, we're going to get the same thing, error message. Let's try up to 6, and we should see a public-private key pair spit out here in the console, right? So this is what we'll be using to create our user. Here's the private key, here's the public key, the PEMs for that, and then here's the object that we've created as well. You can see that the is private is set to true here, is private is set to false here. So we can differentiate between the public and private key pairs. Okay, in the next video, as I said, we're going to add some functionality in this API object. We're going to create a user, and that involves quite a bit of interaction with the Mixin network, which is good, right? Because that's what we finally wanted. We wanted to interact with the Mixin network. We don't really care too much about the JavaScript and all the other stuff going on behind the scenes, but we actually needed to get something set up where we could take input from a user and respond to button clicks and all that other good stuff. But now we're getting into the cryptography. Like you saw previously, we're generating the, sorry, wrong page. We're generating the key pairs now, which is what we'll be using to identify users. Okay, see you in the next video.